Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Hey everybody, happy Easter weekend. Hope you're all doing well. I was commenting on the way into the door here at the studio that, maybe a foot of snow and sun isn't so bad after all. It's so gloomy out there right now and wet, but I guess it's supposed to kind of get a bit nicer by the midday, and tomorrow looks pretty good too for Easter. So anyways, glad you could join us. I hope you're all doing well. Good afternoon for those of you that are listening to us somewhere in Europe. Good morning to those of you watching me live. And anybody in between, good afternoon to my listeners on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people in Jamestown, Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. And those of you that are watching this show, either at 2 and 8 on Spectrum 1301 throughout the week, thanks for joining us. We have a really fun show in store for you. We have a guest that I barely know, and I can't wait to find out more. I always tell people the hardest person for me to interview is someone I really know well, because I have to ask questions I already know the answers to. So we're going to explore the mind of a writer today. No pressure over there. Anyways, so remember folks that this is a live call-in show. And if you have a question or comment for myself, for my guest, or if you have an announcement for your club or organization, give us a call at 716-753-5225 during the week. If you say, oh, I forgot to call, you can send me an email at chautauquasunrise@gmail.com, and we will be happy to get it out for you here at the show. And a lot of times they put them on that thing that you guys watch when I'm not here, that community bulletin board. Is that what it's called? Yep. Okay. I don't get my own show at home because we're up in the hills, so we can't see it, but they'll put that on there as well. So don't hesitate, because we want to get all the information about our community, our region, to everybody else. We're sort of like a virtual newspaper, I guess. Well, at my house, we're a little bit behind the folks down on what I call the lake plain. Our things are starting to pop out some flowers. I see daffodils, tulips are sleeping yet. Weeping cherry looks like it's ready to burst. Forsythia's out. Found these little baby tiny daffodils. I think the squirrels must have moved them out of a pot I had. And some crocuses, Or is it croci? Anyways, my Latin teacher would have to tell me about that. Do you know what crocus stands for, Justin?
No.
It's Latin for crown because it looks like a little crown. Just a little. I took Latin for like forever. Okay, so anyways, if you wanted to call and just wish somebody happy birthday or happy anniversary, that's a good thing too. So I'm going to show you how it's done. I want to wish my youngest son, talk about feeling a little older today. He's going to be 37. That's my son, Justin Linden. He also goes by the name of, I know this is going to be crazy, I don't even know who named him, Guido. I always say he looks sort of like somebody from Duck Dynasty. He's got a beard down to here. He's a burly guy. So anyways, if you see Justin or Guido, wish him happy birthday. Tomorrow's his birthday. Okay, for self-serving purposes only, tonight the Growlers, the band I played with, will be at the Big Inlet over there on Elm Flats Road in Mayville from 6 to 9, just down the road from here. And gosh, it's a great night to come in, have some beverages, hear some really good music. We got a lot of new songs that we're bringing out this year, and love to have you out there, okay? All right, let's just see if I got anything else here. Always remember, we're streaming live around the world, so if you are in another country and you like the show, drop us a note. I know we got people from the Netherlands and from Belgium and, well, gosh, just about anywhere. So I'm going to tell you about a few things that are going on around the county, and then we'll get to my guest who's very anxiously waiting to come on. All right, I have my bookworm from the Ripley Library, and I'd like to go through this really quick because, well, Ripley just doesn't get enough attention. So the Ripley Library is having what they call their Noble Book Club, and that is going to be every Sunday, the first Sunday of every month at 1 p.m. up there at Noble Winery. So you can always give the library a call if you want to find out more about that, and that's 736-3913. Also, they're trying to put together a paint night where you bring your own wine, or yeah, I guess that's what you bring. I don't know. I've never been to one of those. And they're trying to put together this this particular evening, but they haven't set the time yet. But if you're interested, it's $35 a person. That includes all your art supplies. Give them a call at the library again, 736-3913. They're having a white elephant Chinese auction beginning to yesterday. And I was by the library the other day, and they had all these gifts starting to line up. And you get your sheet of tickets, and you put your name on there, put them in the little bags or baskets, whatever they got, and maybe you can win a really cool prize. And that's going on this month. Friday nights, once a month, April 29th, they're going to have a movie for the kids and family, and it's bring your blankets and jammies. Sounds like lots of fun. And two other things real quick. There's going to be a craft fair on Saturday, April 30th, and if you're interested, give them a call at the library. And also, they're going to be selling plants. Perfect time of the year. I know that some people are starting, I think, vegetables, and some people are doing flowers. So I'm going to be there because I'm not going to start with the seeds this year. Okay, and finally today, April 16th. Am I right, Justin? Today's the 16th. Yes?
I know.
Bless you, knew. Over at the Coffee on Main in Ripley, there's a breakfast with the bunny. Easter bunny's there. At noon, there's an egg hunt on playground in front of the school up to age 12. And from noon to 1, prizes, crafts, and visit with Easter Bunny at the Ripley Fire Hall, right there on State Street. Okay? A lot going on in Ripley. But there's also things going on in the rest of the world. So let's go here. There's an Easter party, the 10th annual Easter party. The Chautauqua Safety Village is holding this Easter Carnival today, this day, Saturday, April 16th, right after the show at 10 o'clock. Get in your car and go. Till 1 o'clock, the carnival takes place at the village on the Asheville BOCES campus, just down 394 in Asheville, just down, I guess it's south of here. This event will, I don't know my directions. This event will take place in person and will be mostly outdoors. Please dress appropriately. Bring an umbrella, whatever you need. Admission is only $5 per person. Children 2 and under are free. Admission includes games, crafts, train rides, and a bounce house and a car track, weather permitting. So I'm not sure if they're going to have that or not today. Children can hunt for candy at the different buildings and also visit the Easter Bunny's going to make an appearance there as well, where families can take their own pictures. There will also be a 50-50 drawing, a basket raffle, kettle of corn, food, and drinks for purchase. If you had a membership at the Safety Village, the event is free for you. And the best part of it, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be with the Westfield Mayville Rotary Club, and we're going to be handing out candy at our pavilion there, okay? So I'll be there starting about 10:30, right after the show for a little while. All right. Okay, important announcement. The City of Jamestown, in conjunction with Chautauqua County, announced a new shipment of 5,000 COVID-19 rapid test kits that will be distributed to Jamestown nonprofits and organizations. These include the YMCA, the YWCA, the Salvation Army, the Prendergast Library, Jamestown VA Clinic, the Boys and Girls Club, the Mental Health Association, Chautauqua Opportunities, Hillside Children's Center, Chautauqua Alcohol and Substance Abuse Council, and Evergreen Health Services. The organizations will be able to distribute test kits as they see fit. Okay, so if you want a free one, check out those organizations, and just another way of staying safe, knowing your own personal health. And I know we ordered some for our household as well, in case you don't feel well and you want to make sure you're okay and you don't want to spread it, because those vaccinations, 95%. So it could be that little percent that you might catch something. All right, so let's all be safe. Get the test. I understand it's pretty easy to use, and within a few minutes you get the results. Good news, starting yesterday, the City of Jamestown announces that all facilities and bathrooms will be open in the parks for the public to use. City Parks Commission Chair Cindy DiNapoli said in a statement on behalf of the Jamestown Parks Commission, she's happy to announce that their wonderful park system will be opening this weekend. After a few years of limited events in our parks, we are excited to host a full slate of activities this year. She encourages all residents to come out and enjoy the parks for the season. And Dan Stone, who's the parks manager, says the parks opening is always a special time of year, with old favorites returning and new programming coming to our parks. They welcome all of the residents and families to take advantage of over 500 acres of parkland. I had no idea there was that much there. For more information to use the pavilion, rentals, the parks, give them a call at 483-7523. 483-7523. Okay, now, this week coming up, The Worst Person in the World and the Tragedy of Macbeth, to show at the Reg Linnaeus Center for the Arts, chronicling 4 years of the life of Julie, the worst person in the world. Going to be on Wednesday, April 20th this week at 7 p.m. Examines one woman's quest for love and meeting in the modern world, fluidity told in 12 chapters. The film features a breakout performance by Cannes Best Actress winner Renate Rensiv. I can never say some of these names. As she explores new professional avenues and embarks on relationships with two different men in her search for happiness and identity. The film was nominated for 2 Oscars, including Best International Feature Film. The Worst Person in the World is rated R and is 128 minutes long and is presented with English subtitles. Then, Joel Cohen directs The Tragedy of Macbeth, next Saturday, April 23 at 8 p.m. A bold and fierce adaptation of Shakespeare's tale of murder, madness, and ambition, and wrathful cunning. Sounds like politics. The film stars multiple Oscar nominees and winners Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. The Tragedy of Macbeth is rated R and is 105 minutes long. Most of the time, the tickets are $7. For family films, they're $6. And they add $1 extra for restoration fees to keep that beautiful theater in good shape. Tickets can be purchased from 12 to 5 Monday and Friday and 12 to 8 Wednesday at the box office, or you can give them a call at 484-7070. All right, moving along here. Good news, the Chautauqua Center has begun the process of moving its Dunkirk offices into their new building. We've talked about that over the months and years here at 75 East 3rd Street in Dunkirk. The move will take place in a multi-phase process. The first phase is complete with physician, behavioral health, and dental offices and support staff relocated to the new site. The New York Department of Health recently certified the facility as fit to serve patients. Furniture and equipment from the Chautauqua Center locations at 314 Central Avenue and 319 Central Avenue in Dunkirk have been moved to those offices, and those offices now will be closed. Administrative and billing offices will be moved at a later time. The garden floor of the new building, where those operations will be located, is still under construction and expected to be open in July 2022. It's important to note that the Chautauqua Center Pediatrics offices at 1134 Central Avenue in Dunkirk will remain where they are for the foreseeable future. Also, the new Waterfront Pharmacy location will open in another phase later this year. So a lot going on over there. Wow. If you're interested to know more about the Chautauqua Center, 484-4334. 484-4334. Okay? And finally, it's that time of year, the Tarp Skunks. And we're going to have them on the show here, I believe, in June. The Jamestown Tarp Skunks, with less than 2 months from opening day, released their promotional calendar for the 2020 season. Members of the Tarp Skunks are a member of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, and they begin their season at home against the Olean Oilers on Thursday, June 2nd at 6:30 p.m. Prior to the start of the game, the team will host a free tailgate festival featuring live music by the local band For the People. Jacob Kinberg, who you maybe remember has been on the show, Director of Business and Sales Operations for the Tarp Skunks, stated, "We have put together a promotional schedule for the fans, and we're getting to a schedule that the fans are going to really enjoy." I get a little ahead of myself. "I'm excited for the baseball fans and families in our area. For 2 months this summer, they are going to be able to rely on affordable and entertaining nights at Dietrich Park. We've kept the popular promotions from last year and added in a few more for this year. They're not much. I think we paid like $7 or $8 a ticket or something like that. It was really nice. The Tarp Skunks, who saw a 107% increase in attendance over Jamestown's past collegiate summer league teams, are expecting even larger crowds this season, with a schedule jam-packed with exciting theme nights and promotions. Back for this season are the popular $2 nights featuring pop, hot dogs, and beer for just $2 each. Each Monday home game will be a $2 night, excluding Monday the 4th of July, which will be Independence Day celebration. So really, if you go to any venue these days, a sporting venue, I don't even know what a hot dog is going to run. It's probably like $10 or $12 or something crazy like that. So what a good deal. Okay, and then the first pitch for all games on Monday through Saturday has been moved to 6:30 p.m. this year, with the exception of the fireworks nights. Okay, school kid days and double headers, firework nights will feature a 7 p.m. first pitch, and doubleheaders will begin at 5 p.m. and so on. We'll talk more about this when they come on the show, but season tickets are only $99. You can go to every game for only $99. Pretty cool. Okay, and single game tickets will go on sale Monday, May 16th, starting at $5. Of course, if you want to sit under the cover, that's a little bit more. If you're out in the wide open, I suspect that's probably the $5 seats. That's it I got. That's all I got. That's it. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
And as you know, in Chautauqua County, we have kayaking now. And, on, I think, every one of the lakes now, there's some type of launch site, whether it's, I think it's Casdaga Lake, Lake Erie, Lake Chautauqua, and probably Finley Lake, I believe. All 4 of the lakes that I can think of. Bear Lake, I don't know. And some of the creeks. Thank you, Jeff. So anyways, Chautauqua County is a great place to explore, and we've just got just about everything you can imagine or want in life here in Chautauqua County. Okay, my guest has been anxiously waiting on the sidelines, keep looking at me like, when are we going on? When are we going to go on? So here we are. So here's the deal. Last week we had Parable Farms from South Ripley, and I think they were the first folks that I've ever had on the show from South Ripley, and they're part of Ripley, the township of Ripley. Today we're going to have a second guest from South Ripley. I didn't even realize I had scheduled that way. And so anyways, the best thing I mentioned earlier that I like about today's show is that I really don't know much about my guest, and we're all going to discover what she has done in her life which I've heard is pretty darn cool. So I want to welcome to the show Mary Ellen Humphrey. Welcome back.
Gosh, what a nice intro. Thank you.
How's that? It doesn't get much better. You were here with a couple other ladies, writers, few weeks ago that were sponsoring Genres,
Right.
the bookstore over Westfield at the YWCA, right?
Right.
So how's that going?
It's actually going very well. I covered the store and some other volunteers while Shannon's been away because she had some family things.
Right.
And she's just an amazing I think of her as a young lady. She's, maybe not, she doesn't, but she's just for what she's doing. And so we all want to be supportive. She's not only a writer, but she has a very nice, I share her attitude of how we help each other as writers.
Right.
And so she supports local authors.
Shannon was on the show, I don't know, it was a couple, 3 years ago, and I ran into her prior to that. She says, and I should be on your show when I finish my 50th book. And I go, what? I was like, how come I don't know about this? And I know the genres she writes in. And so she contacted me. She says, I'm just about ready to push the button on to publish my 50th book. I said, you're on the show. And I think we laughed more during each minute than any other show I've ever had, other than Rick Mascaro.
Yeah.
We just had a great time and great personalities. So
Yeah.
I really hope that the bookstore really blossoms. And I have tons of books that I'm still working at because people give me books all the time to read, and I try to take them one at a time, but I'm getting backlogged here.
Well, she is now past 60
Yeah,
books,
I know,
which is
she's
incredible.
prolific.
It's
And-
really incredible.
right.
I'm nothing compared to her. I think I have a dozen books, and it took me a long, long time to write them. I'm a lot
Wow.
older than she is, but
Well, get busy.
yeah. So just to give you a synopsis here, I moved to Ripley, New York in the fall of 2018. I grew up in Maine. I actually lived in Ripley, Maine, so I kind of laugh about I ended up in the beginning and the ending in a place called Ripley. But it's very curious to me that this reminds me, this area, the terrain of the land and the roads and so forth, reminds me of a lot of where I grew up in central Maine. The towns, some of the names.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there
Yeah.
because other than Ripley, New York, I would say Maine is my wife and mine's next favorite place to be. I mean, we try to get up there at least every other year.
It's a wonderful place.
You're going to have to help me where
Yeah.
Ripley is. So I know that here's, is it Portsmouth?
Well, Ripley is like the Ripley here. If you blink, you'll miss it.
Right, but I mean as far as along the
If
coast.
you're in Portsmouth, it's really in the center of Maine. So Dexter, Maine is the center of Maine.
Okay.
In the geological center. So Bangor is to the north, and
Right.
Portland is way down to
Way
the
down.
south. So it's a good 2 hours or more north of Portland.
Where's that from Rockport and Rockland?
It's inland, so west going inland, right?
I believe you
So-
because like I told you, my directionality is terrible.
Much north of Ripley and Dexter and the places where I grew up, is you're getting into the Katahdin area and Baxter State Park area. So that's an hour or so north. So it's a very small town, and like I say, the whole area, the similar names to some of the towns here, it does remind me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think you've got more area here. It's a smaller area section that has the farms and the hills and the
Right.
rolling things, but it just is very interesting that should happen.
So as I said, we were just there last year in Maine. We go, so we always go to Rockland,
Yes,
and
it's nice.
and we liked going in and out of that area. But we try to go inland a little bit more. And my thinking right now is, and see if I'm wrong on this, I'm guessing that if I go inland, you're doing a lot of timbering and a lot of wood
Yes.
crafts and things of that nature.
Well, especially if you go a little north of, it is all rural and all,
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what the industries are there. It's Dexter Shoe, which a lot of people have heard, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Dexter Shoe, my dad, whose name was Justin Humphrey, he helped construct, as he was a laborer who helped construct the original Dexter Shoe factory.
They in their stores, they look like little log cabins, maybe?
Yes, they do, yeah.
Okay, I'm picturing it now because all right.
And then we lived, when I was young, we moved a lot, but we lived in a house that my parents built right across the street from the Dexter Shoe factory, and he worked there until he retired.
Oh, wow.
And his name, Justin, and I know we got a Justin or two around here,
Yeah.
if you go back to the original meaning of that name, it means leather worker, which I thought was very interesting. Yeah. So anyway, I've gotten off track here.
No. This
there,
is
but-
all interesting. Remember, I told you I want to explore things here with you. So you lived in Ripley, Maine. So there was a school in Ripley, or did you?
Oh no,
or more like
there was a consolidated school where I ended up living in Parkman and Guilford, and we moved a number of times, but always in that little circle. And the school was the Carol L. McCormick School. The teacher that I most remember in my whole life, Mrs. Bridge, was just not much taller than I was in 4th grade. Amazing teacher. She lived to be like over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, her students from all those years would just praise her because she was a wonderful person. So anyway, I got a little bit off track, but I got here and, having retired, to be closer to my daughter. That's how I ended up here.
Oh, so where's your daughter live?
She lives in Ripley too, not too far from where I live.
Really?
On Miller Road. So
What's her name?
Jessica Clippinger.
Okay.
And so she has 4 children, my grandchildren. So that's why I.
Well, how did Jessica get here? Let's go there a little bit.
So my daughter went to the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, and her husband also went to the academy, and they both graduated. And once they got married, she of course she got done with the Coast Guard, but he retired from the Coast Guard, and his family lived in the Buffalo area, so he wanted to live in Western New York. So it was always on my little vision board, retire in Western New York.
Gotcha.
But I didn't know where and when. It was all dependent on what they did. And so he teaches at Barrett, I think it is, Penn State.
Barrett,
yeah.
Yep.
And so that's how they ended up here. And then once they were settled, I retired and moved here. So kind of a long story here.
No, but I wanted to know because I was like, how did you get here? I mean, South Ripley.
Don't take it the wrong way, but I wouldn't probably have picked this place because other than my family, and especially since the pandemic came soon after I got here,
Right.
it's been a sort of an isolating experience. It's
Oh,
hard
yeah,
enough
for a
when
lot of
you're
people, yeah.
older, not old, but older, to pick up and start over. I can handle the moving and the buying and building houses and all that part, but it's the hard part is to establish yourself again.
Yeah.
And so that kind of leads to what I was hoping we could talk about today, because now that I am no longer employed every day in a job, I don't think of myself as doing nothing. And my passion is writing and publishing. And I've had a company called Linksfield Publishing for many years. It's basically an imprint that I've used for books for myself and for others. And it's geared not so much to the success is not measured so much from the dollars as it is from the sense of success of other people. So let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. So just before I moved here, I stopped to visit a very dear writer friend who was in a nursing home. Her name was Barbara Gray. And many years ago, she had written these wonderful stories about her life and wanted to put them into a book. Now this is print on demand. I'll talk a little bit about that if you want. But so we put together her book. It's called My Stories by Barbara Gray. And so I stopped in to see her. And a week after I got here, she passed away, when she knew she wasn't doing too well. And her daughter sent me a notice, that she had passed away, and said, "We all want to thank you for her book because it means so much. And now especially, it means so much." So when I talk about success, it's not always measured in dollars. It's measured in what did you do, how did you help, the impact on others. So on the same line, I want to just share these 2 little books with you, Pencils, Pens, and Paper, and Authors of 8. So I've done 2 student publishing workshops. Now these are all volunteer things. This is why I say I don't measure it in dollars and cents, because I just volunteer all this stuff. But I have a master's in education with a specialty in writing, and I've done a lot of workshops in various topics. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is a children's publishing workshop. And so what I have them do, depending on how we do it, whether it's once a week or a 2-week session in the summer, I have them write stories. And in this case, I had them take a paper bag and tear out a piece of paper and draw a treasure map and then write who are the characters and what is the story, and they all had to write their story. And through the experience, they write, they edit, they design the book, they design the cover, they do everything, every part, and I'm just sort of the guider to help them through the process. And they learn terminologies. They learn what is a protagonist, what is an antagonist, what's the story structure, all of the various pieces of storytelling in a way that it becomes fun for them. And I remember when I did this one, this was my first one, I'm walking down the hall behind this young fellow, I would say 10 or 12 years old, and he's got his mother's hand, and he's walking down the hall, and he's going, "Thank you so much for signing me up for this great workshop." And I don't know how many times you would have kids being happy about reading and writing, but that was my goal.
I think that people have unfortunately put all kids in the nerd range, that they think every single kid is, in front of a laptop or their iPhone or whatever. But I still believe that there are a lot of kids that really like to be storytellers.
Absolutely. Kids are natural storytellers. It doesn't matter who they are. We all tell stories. That's how we live our days, is telling stories to each other, right? Whether it's something I just did or finding out about somebody.
Recapping your day.
Or even our explaining why we believe whatever we believe. We have a story. I think it's part of what makes us human. And so words, which are kind of unique to us, I think animals have languages, but we have words that have these multi-layers of meanings. And so in writing a book, right, what's special about a book? Those words become memorialized. They live long after you, which is the case with Barbara's stories. Yeah. And so as I look at I have a business background. I have a lot of background, but one of my backgrounds is in economic development, is helping businesses and having been an entrepreneur. So I look at my hobby and I can't help but think in terms of business. So my business plan is very different. As I say, I'm not going, okay, I'm going to measure my success by numbers of books sold and bottom line. I want to measure my success in my new business model by what's the positive impact of what I'm doing.
Okay. Being an educator myself, and understanding how we're supposed to test kids and measure things, the question always is, okay, so you did this, so show us, this is the state now, sorry for my sarcasm, but how did you measure that child improved their writing skills? Why is that important? So how do you measure success?
In the case of the student publishing classes, it's an observation of attitude and of what they did. And I know, because I have the physical end result, that they learned from what they did. And I know from observation the change in attitude. So some children view writing as, I got to get all the grammar right, I didn't put a period at the end of the sentence, I didn't capitalize, and it becomes an I didn't, a negative. In the case of this, it becomes I did. Look what I did. I want to show Grandma what I did. I want to show Mom what I did. I want to share this with my friends. And so if you've changed their outlook on a thing that they need to have in their life, which is reading and writing, communicating in a positive way, that's how I measure it.
Think about the first thing you probably wrote in school, maybe second or third grade, and the teacher looks at it and returned it to you. Now, I know things have changed, obviously, because we're in the same age group, but when the paper came back, it wasn't you did it,
right.
There was red marks all over it,
right?
Right,
red.
And so then people wonder, well, why don't you like to write? Why don't you want to get up and speak? Because you guys made me capitalize, dot the I's, make sure the T's were crossed. You didn't leave a space, all of the grammar stuff.
Not only did it become tedious, it also became a negative.
Right.
And a lot of times when we write things, our heart is on our sleeve. Like the book I came to talk about today, My Mountain Friend, this is a memoir. And I really wasn't sure about putting my book out there because it's very personal. It's about hiking a mountain in New Hampshire, where I lived, over 1,000 times. I reached the summit of this mountain. I call it a mountain, it's a mount. It's about a little over 2,000 feet. It takes you an hour and a half to get to the top. So it's not like I can climb Mount Katahdin or Mount Washington 1,000 times. It's a fairly small mountain. But doing this 1,000 times over a period of about 10 years, and what did I do as I did this? And it's about me dealing with certain things in my life that are personal, family difficulties and trauma or post-traumatic stress.
Oh, you have those things too?
Yeah, we all do. We all do. And that's the whole point. We all do.
Yeah.
And so this isn't about me saying, oh gosh, look what happened to me. This is about how I dealt with healing about what happened to me. And I don't think we should be saying to people, two things that really bug me are children are resilient, as if, okay, it doesn't matter what happened to them.
Yeah, they're tough.
They're tougher than adults. That's BS. That is not true. And the second thing, I might have forgotten, but the second thing is what happens in your childhood doesn't affect your adult. You don't have to.
Oh my God, who said that?
I don't know, but you don't need to dwell on every day thinking about a bad thing that happened, but you got to deal with it. You got to face it. You got to understand, how did that make me grow and develop, because I was so young when it happened, and how do I now as an adult deal with that? And so this is a very personal book. It's also a beautiful book. It has all the pictures that I could add into it of the hike. There's a fellow mentioned in the book, Nick Richardson, who has hiked it far more times than I have. He's hiked it for 30 years and multiple times a day. And so I asked him, I said, can I include you? In which I did. And he called me after he read the book, and he said, I know I've hiked it more than you, but you have things that I never saw. And now I'm hiking this book, the mountain again, looking for what you saw. Because we all see things differently and have different perspectives. So this is all about connecting with nature and healing, and how, stepping out of your comfort zone. The first time that I hiked this by myself, I did almost all these hikes alone. Occasionally I would take somebody with me, or my grandchildren would go with me, or your friend, but 99% of the time I hiked it by myself. And when I first did that, it seems nothing now, but when I first did it, I was terrified. First of all, I get lost easily. I have no sense of direction. Even though there's these bright spots in all the trees.
Kinship here.
I'm looking for those, and I can't even see anything else. And so, I just getting myself to the parking lot and getting out of the car and starting up the trail was a huge difficulty for me. Once I did it, I calmed down, and I got to the top of the mountain. And once I got to the top, because it's a beautiful, you can see Mount Washington.
What's the name of this mountain?
Mount Major.
Mount Major.
Mount Major. And you can see Winnipesaukee, which is the lake down here, the largest lake, which now is nothing. It's a puddle compared to your lakes. But, but in New Hampshire, it's the big deal. And it's beautiful, fantastic. Just the vision of that is so inspiring, and I saw it in all kinds of weather, all types, winter, summer, fog, snow, you name it. And it never ceased to really impress and amaze me. So anyway, so I write books that I want to write. And I want the people who read them to be people who want to read them, not people that I've marketed so well to that they buy my book and go, oh, it really wasn't a book for me. That isn't, to me, a success.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about what you were saying, and I don't have any completed books, although I have books in my computer that I've written. But I was telling you, I write for Silver Magazine, and I did one piece. It was about the trees in my woods, and they're friends of mine.
Yeah.
And people, I'm not just fooling around right now when I say these things. We have our pets, and we have our family members, but when you are hiking a mountain, when you're walking your woods, there's a tree there that you always stop at.
Yeah.
Or say, wow, you lost the limb, or in the windstorm, and you sort of like all of a sudden realize every one of those trees has a personality of its own.
Yeah.
I call them like grandparent trees that are just huge and really stately. Then you got the young whippersnappers that are still moving in the wind and stuff like that. So I'm really enjoying this discussion.
You
here.
would probably identify with a lot of it. There's a special tree in this book. There's actually several, but there's one that's grows right in the middle of the path, halfway up on one of the trails. And the first winter that I hiked, because I have bifocals, I had to look like this to see where I was stepping, and I ran into the tree.
Oh yeah.
And I saw stars. I literally saw stars, and I was going, oh, there really are stars. And that tree, I like to, it's metaphorically in the book in quite a few places, became central to the hiking. And then there's the whole idea is that if you hike a different trail every time, it's a wonderful experience. If you hike the very same trail, different trails up, but the same paths, it becomes a little different. You can tune in more to the surroundings because you're not looking for the posts on the tree to see if you're in the path, and your focus is now on the ambient sounds, the smells, the rocks, the colors, the birds, all of the things that are happening. I have in here in July. In July, I don't know what happens in July, but the daddy long-legged spiders migrate, I think. I may be wrong. But they come down the trail, and there's a whole line of these daddy long-legged spiders. I happened to notice it. I probably would have stepped on them if I hadn't been so familiar with the mountain, but I'm looking down, and there they are. And I'm so taken by this. And I'm thinking, they have their life, their world. They're like little men going to work with their briefcases. They have a place to go, you know. And I respectfully step aside and let them continue. And so you become in tune to this natural world, which is so important to us. We're so, what's the word for it? We're urbanized. You know, we don't realize the magic and the wonder and the healing power of connecting with the natural world.
The thing that I find really fascinating is, along with what you're saying, and I think you've already alluded to it, is when you go over the same path throughout the seasons, and over time. I looked at a tree just yesterday. I don't know why I'm thinking about this. But I thought, wow, you got big. I hadn't seen you in a while, and it was like double from the last time I remember it. And then yesterday, it had rained a little bit, and out of the clear blue, I saw this little tree just moving, and it had all these little raindrops on it. And I go, where'd you come from? I don't remember seeing you there. But because it had raindrops on it, I noticed it. And it was like, well, welcome, you know. And I know this sounds, some people might say, well, this sounds kind of silly, but it's not. Because trees are just like pets that are anchored to the ground, right?
Well, there's a lot we don't know about trees. You know, there's scientifically studies now that show that they communicate with one another, and they make sounds, and they do things. And I've always been fascinated with trees. I mean, if they come up with this term tree hugger, that's probably me, because I love trees. In fact, the lot I actually built my retirement home on, I bought it. It's 1 acre because of the trees. I just love the trees on it. So this book was a real book. This is the tree that I ran into, by the way. So,
So we kind of located where you lived in Ripley, Maine. So where is this in New Hampshire?
So I grew up in Maine. I like to say, on a good day, I'm a Mainer. Okay, I'm going to give you some Maine humor, which usually probably won't be funny. But on a bad day, I'm a maniac. So I am what I am. Okay. I spent my adult life in New Hampshire and raised my children there. And New Hampshire is a wonderful state, especially if you're wealthy, and I'm not, so I had to retire somewhere else. But it's a very political state. It's the first in the nation primary. And you can't live in New Hampshire and not somehow get drawn into politics. And not only that, everything in New Hampshire, maybe this is true here too, but everything there is you locally volunteer, whether it's the planning board or the town council or the selectmen or the county commissioners, all of these things that basically volunteer, even your legislature. The New Hampshire House and Senate pays you $100 a year. That's your pay. If you get elected. I served in both, so I got really rich being there.
$100 a year?
$100 a year. It's in the Constitution of New Hampshire, so that you'll never get any more than that. That's what they pay, and it's a huge job to be a House and Senate member. Yeah. So it's not a typical state. Like, it's not New York. We don't have. Well, there are some people. If you're wealthy enough, you can stay forever. But if you got to earn a living, it's kind of hard to do that level of volunteer. But I learned a lot, and that's why I wrote this book here.
Okay, let's hold your breath. Okay. We have a phone call.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Doc. This is Linda Spalding. Good morning, Mary Ellen. Congratulations on being an author and publishing.
Well, thank you, Linda. It's nice to hear from you.
Oh, well, it's good to see you on the show. It's quite an accomplishment to do this. Now, how long did your last book take you to prepare?
You know, I have books that have taken decades, and I have books that I've written in a week. So it's really interesting. The mountain book, obviously, the research, if you want to call it that, was the hiking over a 10-year period. The time to write it was probably a year. It took me a year to sort out my journal entries, to decide what was the theme of the book, and to give a form and structure to it, because otherwise it would just be a bunch of hiking essays. And so I would say that took about a year, and then of course you have editing and cover design and all of that, which goes pretty fast. But I would say give it a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. It's not easy to do.
Well, thank you so much. You're right, isn't? But it's a labor of love, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you visualize your beginning and ending, or some authors say once they start, it takes on its own life.
You know, that's an interesting question. I found because I've been writing for a long, long time, I found that some books are just somehow there, and you see the book in your mind's eye, and you know what the beginning is, you know what the ending is, and you just need to sit down and transcribe this book, and then you go back and edit and do various things. Other books, you have this germ of an idea. You've got this, I like this plot, I like these characters, I like this. And this is my Politics and Poltergeist book, because I knew the setting, I knew the characters, I knew kind of what I wanted, but I didn't have the story, so I had to sit down and sort of plot it out and think about it before I actually wrote it. And so there's different, it's almost like if you've had more than one child, every birth is different, every child is different.
Yes,
You know,
of course. It's a creation.
Yeah, they're all a little different. They have their own flavor. Another book that I did, this one is called Norumbega. This was inspired by my daughter and my mother-in-law. Sounds weird, doesn't it? But the protagonist is a little girl, about 12 years old, pre-settlement New England. And it's in Norumbega was the Mount Katahdin area, which was where all the original explorers thought the gold, you know how there was gold in the south? Well, there's gold in the north that the natives have, and so that's where the title came from. But this was inspired because my daughter sailed across the Atlantic Ocean on the U.S. bark Eagle, and she told me these fantastic stories. And then my mother-in-law is the main character's basic thing, because I was so fascinated by her stories of her precociousness as a child, how she loved her dad and how she'd sit on his lap and rock in the chair and all this. And so this is a mixture of, and I think your brain does this, it synthesizes all these pieces together and you come up with the story. And the first part of this book, this is a 4-part book, I wrote in the early 90s, maybe 94, 95. I sent it to a magazine called Helmsman magazine. They had a literary contest, and it won 2nd place.
Oh, nice.
So I have a prize-winning story. But the funny part about it is, because it won a prize, the other 3 parts of the book took me 20 years to write, because I could never write that good again. So, yeah, so they're all different. Every story, every book, it's interesting.
Your books all have a blue cover. Is there a theme there?
Yes, blue is my color. Obviously, I didn't pick the colors on these, but blue is a color. It's the chakra for voice, for one thing. I think I spent a lot of my life trying to find my voice, and some people might say they wish I didn't. But I wasn't always able to communicate, and I was very shy, and so blue helps me to feel who I am, and to communicate. So,
Gotcha.
So I do have that theme through my house, through my possessions, and through my books.
Linda wants to know where she can get your books.
Yes, I do. You knew my next question.
I knew what you were going to ask.
So you can, Genres Bookstore in Westfield has them in the store, but if you want to order them online, they're all on Amazon. Just make sure you put my name and the title of the book, because there's so many books now on Amazon, it's sometimes hard to find. But I'm there. And
Well, I'm going to take a trip down to Westfield.
good. Super, that'd be great.
Get one of your books.
Well,
Congratulations. You must feel very good and accomplished.
Well, thank you. It is a sense of accomplishment. You're right. Holding the book in your heart, in your hands.
And by your heart, yeah.
Yeah, is it really? And I want others to have that. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret, which it won't be a secret anymore. I do aspire to publication of my writings. I write also.
Well, with the Ripley Library, before the pandemic started, I did a memoir writing workshop. And that's when Robin did her book, Jump on the Running Board, and
Right.
I did this one here. We wanted to focus on memoir. But one of the things that I started to talk about in my goals as a retired person in my new endeavor is to help other people make their books a reality. And I used to do a workshop back before print on demand was available called How to Hold in Your Hands the Book in Your Heart. And it's all about helping folks who maybe just are intimidated or scared or don't know how to do the process, you can actually do your books very easily and very inexpensively today if you know what you're doing. And so one of my goals is to do more along those lines.
Excellent.
And helping folks.
Great.
Yeah. So go for it.
There's a lot of published authors that couldn't get published at first. Stephen King was one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the publisher said, nobody wants to read those horrible nightmare stories.
I can only read his stuff during the day.
So there's a lot of self-published authors who became published. So congratulations, and you're an inspiration. Thank you.
Well, good luck with your book. I hope you do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I also want to say Happy Easter, Happy and Holy Passover, and Ramadan. All three are coming together at the same time this year.
Yeah.
Right, they are. All right. Well, Lynn, you have a great holiday, and take care.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. Wow.
Well, that was very nice.
Yeah.
I love to hear from folks.
Okay, so you were talking about
I was talking about
poltergeists in politics.
Well, you might find that interesting. I mean,
tell me why.
Because
that's interesting.
You know, politics isn't really fun right now, right? It's kind of like, oh my goodness.
Depends on who you are. Some people
I
like
guess,
it. They like the way things are, and I'm not there. No.
So I wrote this book as a spoof on the New Hampshire legislature.
Oh,
and
I bet that went over well.
I term it this way. You know, Mr. Smith goes to Washington, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it's Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith goes to Concord, the state capital, meets Murder, She Wrote, right?
Oh, yeah.
Meets Rod Serling. So in this book,
You're about to enter the...
if you go through, the New Hampshire State House is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, still being used. And the hallways, you know, the marble hallways and all this, there's portraits hanging, hundreds of them.
You know why they can afford it, right? Because they only pay $100 a year.
Yeah, it's one of the, I shouldn't say cheap, but...
It's cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap. And there's something to be said. I mean, you don't run for office to make money, right? At least I certainly did.
You certainly don't there.
And they say if you live in New Hampshire long enough, you'll serve in the House. Well, there's a 400-member House. So they have a hard time. They have a hard time. It's like the third or fourth largest in the world.
Holy mackerel, I
The
guess.
Senate is only 24.
Okay.
It's one of the smallest.
And you served in both houses?
I served in both, yeah. Anyway, where was I going with this? So it's where if you live there, you're probably going to get sucked in. You can't help it. It's, you know, and so in this book, my protagonist, and people will often ask the question, when you write a book, are you writing about yourself? And we assume that a lot. When we read a book, you know, if you read, we just finished Great Expectations in the Ripley book club that you were talking about.
Great.
And we're going to be doing Bees, The Life of Bees, or whatever it is next. But anyway, and I love Dickens. He's one of my favorite authors. And I look at that and I'm thinking, okay, how much of him is in these characters? You can't not be part of you. So in this book, my protagonist is a woman who finds herself kind of midlife single. Her husband dies, their kids are gone to college and whatnot, and she's a little lost, and she accidentally gets sucked into running for the New Hampshire House. And I can tell you the story because some things are true. So she goes down to the town office to renew her dog license, and her dog license is supposed to be by the end of June, or at the end of May, excuse me, but it's June 1st.
Okay.
So she doesn't want to pay the fine. I don't want to get fined because I'm going to have to pay an extra $10. And
Yeah.
it's bad enough I got to pay $5 or whatever it is to license the dog. So she goes into the town office, and on the bulletin board next to the window where Judy, the town clerk, is doing her stuff, there's a sign that says, time to sign up for public office, right?
Oh, boy.
So she says to Judy, well, what's that all about? Hoping to kind of distract her. Well, Judy's really happy. She goes, are you interested in running for the House? She said, pulls out this piece of paper, and it's like a little folded thing, and she said, this is called a declaration of intent. Fill this out and pay $2. Or she flips it over, there's 10 blank spaces, get 10 registered voters to sign it, and you don't have to pay $2. So the protagonist is, guess who? Who's standing there goes, I don't know, 10 registered voters, but $2 is a lot less than the fine I'm going to pay.
Such a deal.
So she does it. And she doesn't get fined. Judy's happy. She goes home, and she goes home, and she goes,
Now what have I done?
what have I done? And so that's how the book starts out.
That's a great story already.
When I was there, I was fascinated by who are these people? These old guys, standing there and scratching their ears and whatever, their pipes and all this. And it struck me that they were all men. There was one woman, I can't remember who she was,
Old, fat,
but
white men.
they were all men, and hundreds of them. And so I wanted to write a story that would talk about politics in a light way and also be educational, because I learned so much from this experience. Somebody said when I got there, it's going to be like a college education. Well, I never had a college education like this. It was just talk about studying human nature.
Yeah.
It was just really incredible. And so, you can't, it's very hard not to get sucked into the partisan part, which I personally, I'm independent, I'm undeclared, have been ever since I left public service, but I like to be objective, to hear all the arguments without the spin.
How refreshing.
Yeah. So anyway, I had some fun with it though, and I put some of the fun in
but
here.
Tell me, why poltergeist? Because poltergeist is not a ghost, it's something different. So
Yeah, well, it's because the portraits in the book do actually have a life.
Okay, all right, okay.
And not all of them, but a few choice ones. So there's one who was really prominent during the abolition period. It was a doctor.
Okay.
And there was another one that had some other claim to fame.
It's like going to Disney World where they have the
Yeah.
statues start talking.
So this poor lady who's totally naive about politics is educated a little bit by these poltergeists or these ghosts or whatever you want to call them.
Nice.
And so this was a fun book, and I actually wrote this. Every year there's a project called NaNoWriMo. And it stands for National Novel Writing Month or something.
Okay.
So in November, you're supposed to write a 50,000 word first draft. In 2012, this was my first draft, and I wanted to do something different. Normally I had, a book in mind or whatever. I only had a concept for this, which I told you, Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
And so I had just finished reading Stephen King's writing book called On Writing, and he had a piece that really caught my eye. He said, create a setting and characters and let them tell the story. And I thought, well, what the heck, it's 50,000 word prompt, I'll let them do this. Well, the thing is, I got to the end, because it is a whodunit, who murdered this person that I would have loved to have murdered in real life. No. And I didn't know who was the guilty party.
Right.
I was as mystified as anyone who had been reading it. And then I reminded myself, this is like 2 days before the end of November, and I got to finish this book, right? And so I said to myself, and I do this sometimes when I'm writing and I get stuck. And you have writer's block and you don't know the answer. So I said, I'm going to bed, I'm going to let my brain figure it out. I don't know the answer. And so I got up the next day and went back to work, and
Ding.
There was the answer. And it surprised me. I was like, okay, that's good.
Folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. We're down to a minute.
Oh.
Mary Ellen Humphrey, you've been so much fun. We got to do this again. Tell folks how to find your books and anything else you want to wrap up the show with.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
letting me.
My pleasure.
And I hope I can meet other people who maybe are interested in writing, and maybe you have a story and you don't know how to do it. Keep in touch, because at the library in Ripley, we're going to be working on more of these projects. And you can reach me. There is an author page on Amazon, and I don't know if you have my contact information. People can email me if you want to put that out.
What's this tell?
It's mary.ellen.humphrey@gmail.com.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. Mary.ellen.humphrey, now you know my name,
There you go.
@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I love to hear from people and
All right.
talk about this.
Well, maybe we'll swing back on this topic again. So congratulations on all your work, and enjoy the great
Thank you.
area of South Ripley, or Ripley in the general, Chautauqua County.
I'm loving
everything.
my new home. Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show today. I really had fun learning more about you, and I had a lot more questions, so maybe another time. Okay, let's wrap it up, Jeff. I know you're starting to do my theme music there. Folks, as Linda said, have a great holiday weekend, no matter what you're celebrating. And I don't even know what it's doing outside, but hopefully it's starting to clear up a bit. Have a great weekend. And we're going to do this all again next week, right here on XX Chautauqua, 1301 on Spectrum. And you can hear me anywhere around the world. Take care. Stay dry.